Welcome everybody to the Australian Grand Prix formation lap. We have George on pole position, Harry in P2, Preston in P3 and Evan in P4. It's a rainy race. It's just got even better, hasn't it?
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. The first race of the season being in the wet weather. Wow. We'll have to see. This is going to be great.
I bet they're all thankful I made sure it was a 50% race and not a 100% race.
Yeah, for sure. But again, I don't. Whether it is 50 or 100, the rain is the rain, and the grip is the grip, and whether you get much of it is down to how gentle you are with your throttle. And so this is going to be the ultimate test of who really is the best driver.
Very true, very true. And this will also be very crucial for every single driver to have a very good start to the season. They all want to maximise their points here today to show that they want to potentially challenge for the championship. I know that we're in the first race of the season, but I think you can agree the first race is just as important as the last.
Yeah, 100%. And every race is as important as the next. And obviously, if you can get a good start, if you can get a good haul of points, if you can come away with a victory, it will just give you that sort of cushion for the upcoming races that you need to, lower the amount of pressure you're under. Because at the end of the day, what is it all about? It's about pressure. Pressure is what elevates teams often to, win championships and win races, and often others to crumble. And so winning and coming away with a whole of points in the first race is just going to give you the pressure lift that you might need to go on and win more.
Very true, very true. But we will all see how it pans out today for the 29 laps that we will see. Would you want to do lights out in the finish today?
I will do the finish. I'll let you do the lights out for the first race of the season.
No worries, no worries. But unfortunately, Evan has been disqualified from a formation lap, but that does not mean anything because it's raining anyway. People won't be able to warm their tyres. And here we go, people. It's all or nothing. Here is 5 red lights. And it's lights out. And away we go for the Australian Grand Prix. Who gets a better start here? Who does better? Harry and George are flying away for P1. Evan's been disqualified from the session. I don't know why, but Harry's up to P1.
Oh my goodness, and they're racing wheel to wheel. Oh, and is George going to get across the line? The whole straight, the wheel to wheel as the Red Bull of Preston is right on the trail. We're going 3 wide. I think it looks like Preston's been pushed wide here. Alonso's taking up positions, but Harry comes out on top and he's leading this Grand Prix. What a start from the Ferrari. As Preston now remakes that place into P3, George down into P2, already almost half a second behind Harry. Of course, DRS is disabled in these conditions, but you could see immediately off the line how much better of a start that Ferrari got as that Williams behind it closes in. Is he going to go in for the overtake? He is. He's going to go for it around the side of the straight as Harry closes the gap. Oh my goodness me, that was really close.
This is impeccable driving from both of them, even on the first lap, but George is trying it again, round the outside. Will he secure it here? It's looking like it. Harry has the inside line and manages to push George wide there, and George has gone into a barrier. I think that's damage to his wing.
Oh my word.
Is that a penalty worth incident?
Wow. Oh my. It did look a little bit pushy from Harry. I think George was entitled to a little bit more space there. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see the replays later, but and now obviously Harry is pulling away from the rest of the pack. But I think he did just shove him off a little bit more. Obviously, it's racing at the end of the day. They'll push as hard as they can, but you have to push to the limits. And I think George, as side by side as they were, albeit he wasn't leading into the corner, was entitled to a bit more space there. But that is not the reason he crashed. The reason he crashed is because he wasn't gentle enough on the acceleration coming out. Obviously, he was on the grass, so it'd be hard. But that's what pushed him into the wall. So we'll have to see.
Very true, very true. Of course, you have to take into fact that it is wet. It is a wet race. You know, you're going to be skidding all over the place. You have to be gentle on that throttle, as you say. Otherwise, you will be you will suffer the consequences. But we are down now to 2 at the top. We have George away at bottom with a 12-second gap to build back up. I haven't seen a race with 3 people since probably season 1 and season 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think George is going to be extremely unhappy right now with where he is. He's dropped all the way down to P19 with a 12-second deficit to P18 with the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, and now Harry has the opportunity with no real competition as of yet to, or at least not from George, who was right behind him, to pull away.
Oh,
but this has played right into Preston's hands, who initially looked like he was going to go 3 brisk with them into what would have been corner 3, turn 3, or turn 2. But he looked like he got pushed wide and ended up being tangled up with Alonso, who for a brief moment took the place, but Preston swiftly took it back. And now it looks like he's closing in on Harry. He looks to be struggling a little bit. He's already almost within a second. Obviously, as I say, DRS is disabled in these conditions, but we'll have to see now if Preston can take full advantage of the situation at hand and see if he can get the overtake done on Harry.
Very true, very true. I mean, let's look back at countless times they faced off. I mean, France, Season 1, Season 2, Jeddah, Season 1, Season 2. They faced each other constantly, especially in France. And Harry won both those races in Season 1 and Season 2. The last time they officially came into a fight was Abu Dhabi Season 3. Of course, the finale race, where it was Preston versus Charlie. Both of them had a chance of a championship, and Harry defended off Preston just long enough for Charlie to win that race. Can Harry pull out that miraculous defending again to hold off Preston from overtaking him?
Wow. Well, I mean, this is looking closer and closer by the second, by the lap, by the corner. Preston is right behind Harry. Harry's gonna have to push, but also not take too much life out of those tires, which obviously these wet running tires are made to run for a long, long time. But you know, especially if Preston is in the trail of Harry in the next couple of laps, we'll have to see if he can put in the laps that close down the gap. Obviously, before he was actually coming in within a second, but now it is staying. The difference between Harry and Preston is sort of staying at a healthy 1.4 second gap. So we'll see if that closes down anytime soon.
Very true, very true. Of course, that's now 1.2 second gap. George, we saw a moment ago, got the fastest lap. He's now closing down the AI of Carlos Sainz. He has many AIs to go through, but we've seen him do it many a times before and get straight back up. If he can do that again, that'll be quite impressive. He might even be wishing it was a 100% race, because it gives you even more of that chance.
Yeah, I mean, look. Already 4 laps done, or we're on lap 4 at least, or lap 5. It's going to be tough for him to try and take the race win from here, obviously, but he's going to back himself, and the rest of the pack are all within a second of each other, so they're not exactly far away, they're not spaced out. If he can get one overtake done, he's a couple corners away from getting the next done, in theory, depending on how long he takes for each overtake, but we see him now really closing in on the Ferrari of Sainz. Should just get this move done on the straight as he's closing in, and he's going down outside, is he? Yes, he is. And he gets that move done easily as he now moves on to target Perez. But yeah, don't count him out, but it is going to be difficult.
Very true, very true. We'll see what he can do. Who knows? But it looks like Preston may have slipped out or something, because those 1.1 second gap has now been doubled to a 3-second gap here.
Yeah, did he have a struggle or something? Or maybe a snap of oversteer, understeer, don't know. But something's happened to make him fall back. Maybe he's just stopped pushing.
Who knows? Who knows? We'll have to see. Can I just give a quick shout out to my AI? I think he's done impeccably. From bottom of the pack, he's now risen up to P12. Quite like me, I'm such a great driver. It's why I've clearly not raced in this league because I don't want to destroy all of you. I'm too nice. But up to P12, I think that's pretty good. But nonetheless, George is going round the inside of a lot of AIs here, especially Lewis Hamilton looking to get up to that P15 position, going after that P14 position on Lance Stroll now. And doing it impeccably. But that gap is just going even more further. What is Preston, as we said, slipping out, or is Harry just that quick?
I'm not sure. I mean, it must be the Preston struggling, because I can't see Harry being a second and a half faster per lap if in the first 4 he was staying within 1.4 of Preston, unless Harry wasn't pushing for those laps and has now decided, right, I'm going to build up a bit of a gap. But I mean, it's already approaching 5 seconds. Oh, but it's gone down again. It's gone up again. Sorry. So we'll have to see. I don't know. I'd assume Preston's struggling, but we don't know. I haven't seen anything. Have you?
No, but is it more of a case? I'm just throwing it out there, but maybe he slipped out, and now he's sort of thinking, right, I'm in P2, Harry's in P1. If I really push, I could probably catch him, but my tyres would probably get really worn out. I'm just going to play this nicely and calm, and see when Harry pits, and potentially overtake him then, or maybe pit before, and using strategy. I don't know how really to put it, to be honest, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure the undercut is as powerful or the overcut is as powerful in these conditions. I think they just want to stay out and have as long as a stint as they could possibly have. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think unless one of them, Preston, is struggling, or Harry's just doing significantly better, which it's not an impossibility. He's a very good driver. I think if either of those isn't the case, then it must just be that Preston's taking it conservatively, saying, I just want to get across the line in one piece.
Well, yeah, I mean, who knows? We'll have to see how his strategy pans out today. And who knows? But just a quick notice, George is up to P9.
Oh my, this is really aggressive driving at its finest. This is what I was saying before about the cars being within sort of a second of each other. Now he's making, for example, the move on the Haas. Oh, it looked a bit close there, didn't it? But he's made it stick. Now he's taking a move on the Haas, and the Alfa Romeo Bottas is just up ahead. But the more overtakes get done, the more obviously you climb up, but also, generally speaking, when you're doing an overtake, you tend to lose time on the people ahead because you're too busy fighting. But George has found himself in a nice position where everyone ahead of him is within a second of each other. So make him stick.
Very true, and nicely done there with overtaking Valtteri Bottas. Nicely done there by George. If I already didn't say nicely done, I think I'll say that a few more times. It seems to be my catchphrase these days. But up to P7, only, I'd say, probably 4 more positions, and he's caught up to Preston. Obviously got to close down a 7-second gap, obviously, between Alonso and Preston, but with the way he's going now, I don't see why he can't.
No, he is flying in that Williams, and he's approaching the Alfa Romeo of Zhou Guanyu now, as he looks to overtake around the outside of the straight, and he's done it with such ease, my word. Yeah, I can't see him not closing down that 7-second gap. I mean, it's going to be much more difficult, and it's already gone up to 8.3, so the longer he takes to overtake Tsunoda and Alonso, the less time he has to really catch up on Preston. But we'll have to see. Yeah, I agree with you. I think he can close down that gap.
Very true, very true. I bet you've really missed this, haven't you? I know you'd obviously prefer to be racing. And anyone would, I'm sure. But I bet you've missed this slightly, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. It's just nice to get back get back into commentating. I definitely love commentating as well. It's not just about not being able to race, but Yeah, it's just nice seeing all the drivers battle it out and being here to see it all happen and unfold in front of us.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm gonna touch wood. I'm not jinxing this, right? I know about commentators' curse. I know that it's happened before, but obviously, as mentioned, Harry has not had a win since season 3. I'm not sure exactly what race. Don't actually. I'll find out for you now. Actually, give me 1 second. He hasn't. Harry has not had a win since season 3 in Italy, in I believe Imola. So that has been a while. He's now at the top. Obviously, George is climbing very fast now in P3. Is this his day?
Very well might be, very well might be. He is in a very good position. His main competitor does seem to be George, who he's got a very healthy lead on. What, 20-second lead, almost, to George. Obviously, having that incident did look a little bit touch and go with how much space he should or shouldn't have given him, but George has made a brilliant recovery drive. Within sort of 5 laps, he's already recovered from P19 to P3, running in the podium places with a gap to Alonso of 2 seconds already. So we'll have to see whether he can close down this now 9 second gap to Preston, which does seem like quite a daunting task considering the 2 drivers ahead of him are incredibly fast. Let's see how it unfolds.
Very true, very true. I mean, we have seen George and Preston go head to head. I think you've actually been here for a few races in season 3 where they have gone head to head. You know, and those Preston and George battling is just a spectacle. So if we get to see it today, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's all going to be dependent on how much he closes this gap down. Look, he's already come. He's already
Oh,
gone a bit wide there. But look, he's already got that gap down from 9 seconds to around about 8. But obviously, if it's going wide, he's got that back to about 9. But the point still stands. He's already been able to, within a lap, to close down that gap by a second. So let's see whether around the pit stops coming through, where that puts the rest of the pack, because obviously he's now already pitted.
very true, very true. Nice notification there as well. I heard something or other. But yes, we'll have to see how it goes. It looks like he's closing the gap right now. Of course, as he was pushing, we did see him slip out. So he's slipping out every now and then, so that could lose him time. But he's pushing and pushing, and that time is just going down. Preston may have to look at this now and think, right, I've got to start pushing now as well. And it looks like he is starting to push as well. It looks like he doesn't want George to come up on him, and he's potentially sort of pushing now.
Yeah. If the race continues to go as it's going right now, and the pit stops don't play a very big role on grid order, which I mean it's a bit of an ask because pit stops normally do tend to have a big big role on grid order, but if it's checkered flag in 2 laps, this is how it would stand. If it's checkered flag in about 10 laps with no pit stops, I think Preston might have a Williams in his rearview mirror. So we'll have to see how much he can close down this gap.
Very true, very true. Of course, it's only the first race of the season, you know. But as we know, Williams won the first ever Constructors' Championship with Preston and Callum. George has won one Constructors' Championship, of course, in the Alpine last season. But of course, he doesn't actually. It's not actually on the driver; it's on the team. Could George's experience coming to Williams be quite good for a second Constructors' Championship? Because I don't think, apart from Alpine, a little virtual safety car here. What's happened?
Oh, is somebody had an off?
It looks like Preston's down to 11 seconds. Did we miss something?
Has he got damage?
Yes, he has on me. Oh, Magnussen's gone out.
No, it's Magnussen. Yeah.
Wow. That is going to impact the race. I know it's not an actual safety car, but even so, that's less time. Harry's now taking full advantage. He's pitting. I'm sure Preston and George will too. Preston's not pitting.
Preston's staying out. Oh. This is going to be interesting.
Will George pit? He's not pitting as well. He's staying out.
I mean, George wouldn't have pitted anyway, I reckon, because of the fact that he has just pitted. But the Williams has come out ahead of the Ferrari.
And how close is Preston and George now? This virtual safety car, I was wrong. It has completely changed the game. It has closed everything down again.
Yeah, I mean, Harry will be on a much fresher tyres than his two competitors ahead of him. So he will be looking to push that gap immediately and retake those positions. Preston, at some point, is going to need to pit. So he's not going to be able to keep that track position unless there was supposed to be a red flag. Which, as it stands, there won't be. As it is green flag conditions again now, and they get back to racing. Yeah, I think Preston's definitely going to have to think about when he's going to come into the pits. It is approaching the halfway mark now of the race. George, as it actually doesn't need to pit anymore, and he's got the track position over Harry. If he can long those tyres out to the end of the race, which would be a very big ask, but if he can, then he would win the race. So this is gonna spice up towards the end.
Very true. I mean, currently, what we're looking on, Preston, of course, on the 11-lap old tyres, George being 10 laps. So, of course, Preston going into the pits now.
Oh.
Why is he pitting now and not last lap? Surely last lap would have been more tactical, being a virtual safety car.
Yeah, I think if he was opted, I think staying out made sense in what he was doing because
he's forgot that pit release assist is off. I knew it would catch someone out.
Yeah, no. Staying out at the virtual safety car makes sense because you want to do opposite to what your competitor is doing to get track position in that situation, especially in these wet weather conditions where overtaking is more difficult. But if you opt to stay out, I think you would box, maybe 4, 5, 6 laps later, not the lap after the virtual safety car, because then you've got track position for only one racing lap, and then you've immediately given it up, and now put yourself in a position where you're having to overtake a couple of AI on top of Harry on fresh tyres and George, who's flying at the moment. So I'm not quite sure what the strategy call is there, but if it works out, then I suppose he's silenced all of us, isn't he?
Very true, very true. I see Lance Stroll has gone out as well. Very quickly, before we discuss how Harry is charging after George, if a battle comes on, we will quickly switch over to that. But very quickly, what is your opinions on red flags being in the game?
I think it's a great addition. I think it's going to really spice up the races. I think if there's genuinely big... Oh, is George going into the pits?
He is. Oh, and he's had to drastically slow down there. Obviously, we have both pit assists off, so he's had to drastically slow down there. Will he know if a pit release assist is off? He does, and he's straight out. Harry's back out in front now. Preston in P5 and George in P2.
Yeah, this has played well into George's hands here, because now he's boxed. Now he doesn't have to stop again till the end of the race, and he's running P2, obviously now 17 seconds behind Harry, who's played a very good strategy call by coming in the virtual safety car lap. But now Preston has really been sort of compromised, because he's now fighting AI ahead of him, whilst his two competitors are basically in free running. Oh, that looks really tricky as he goes really wide. Narrow miss with the wall, and he's really chasing that AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda as he looks to get the move done round the outside of this straight. And finally Tsunoda yields and he gets that position done. But yeah, I think Preston here, through that whole sort of 3-lap exchange of the safety VST, has been the one that's been compromised.
Very true, very true. An unlucky time for him. We'll see whether he can bounce back or not. Of course, being a world champion, we know he can bounce back. We've seen his battles, obviously, in Season 1. It was him versus... Oh, he's gone a bit wide there. That will affect him. And Tsunoda's straight on him now, but he's managed to keep Tsunoda behind him. But what I was saying was, that Preston knows how to race, and it shows. His battles between him and Callum in season 1 were brilliant, and he turned out a champion because of them. But we'll see whether he can get up there or not. He now has a 9-second gap to George. George has a 15-second gap to Harry. Quite spread out again, but we know these guys are very good at closing gaps.
Yeah, I mean, the 17-second gap to Harry has now already gone down to 3. You can see the new tyre effect coming in, but you also can't say that that's the only reason he's closing in, because his competitor Harry is only on 1 lap fresher tyres, I believe, or 1 or 2 lap fresher tyres. So it is down to George just flying. He is just pushing his car to the very limit and extracting a lot of time from it. So, at this pace, he'll catch up to Harry in no time.
Very true, very true. You also have to ask the question, currently, of Preston. Is he technically catching up to Harry, but George is getting away from him, if you get what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very real possibility, especially because both of them have now just boxed, so they both have fresher tyres than Harry, and I think he will be catching up. He'll definitely pull away from all the AI, that's for sure. I think now Preston is driving for P3, because with only 13, 14 odd laps left, recovering a 24-second lead is going to be next to impossible in these conditions. It would be in the dry also. So I think the real battle here is George chasing Harry for P1. I think if Preston can bring it home in P3 in one piece, it will be damage limitation.
Very true, very true. I'm not sure if you watched pre-season testing. I know it was just an hour of basically people going around a circuit and just setting times for no reason, really, except for, testing different strategies or whatever. You get what I'm trying to say in a nice way to the league, to myself for setting it up, really. But I'm not sure if you saw, but Neo was absolutely matching, or near enough matching, or beating George's times in Imola. So if George goes ahead and wins this, it's sort of a statement to Neo for missing out, really. It's sort of like, well, I've already got, let's say, a 26 point gap on you, because he didn't get pole, obviously, but Neo then has a 26 point gap to close already.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be really interesting to see how Neo does. If he's been that close in preseason testing, they could definitely be that close in the actual race itself. Granted, the premises of both are vastly different, because you have one where the pressure is not on you. The only thing you're doing is collecting data, and you have the next where every bit of pressure, every decision, every corner, every zone of braking, every gear change that you do is going to be criticized, recorded, and said you could have done that better. And even putting that all aside, in the race itself, you have the pressure of your competitors either chasing you or getting away from you. And so you're forced into a position where you are also pushing yourself to or past your own limits. So it's obviously a very different situation, but if you can do it in pre-season testing, then you can definitely do it in the race. So it'll be interesting to see.
Very true, very true. I will tell you if I can find where he's been on the softs. Yeah, that's correct. In pre-season testing, when they were all on the softs, I can't actually tell what Neo's time is. That's really annoying. It's being annoying. Give me 1 second. But I can at least tell you that George's time was a 1:16.2, Harry's time was a 1:16.0, and I believe Neo's was like a 1:15.8.
Yeah, this is it's going to be a really interesting battle to see when obviously Neo is here and racing. We'll have to see how they plan out, but I mean, for now, if you look at the timings, George has really crunched that time down. 13-second lead has now gone to 8-second lead for Harry. So at this rate, George is going to catch him.
Very true, very true. I was going to put it to you a while ago when it was a 12-second gap. I was going to say with how many laps left it was. I think it's like 14 or something. Could George catch up? But now it's down to a 7.9 second gap with 11 laps left to go. I'm afraid to say for Harry, I don't think that's a question.
No, he's definitely going to have that Williams in his rearview mirror now, and he'll have to see if he can defend it. It's going to come down to the last couple of laps, as we have a yellow sector 3.
That is Russell. He's had a bit of an issue. He's gone into the wall, but he's driving off again, so no red flags for now. I actually really want to see a red flag in this league. I'm not saying I want to see a crash. Don't get me wrong. But I just want to see how a red flag would work with our guys. You know, see how they would react to it, because we haven't seen it before. Obviously, we don't know how they'd react to the restart. Obviously, we know, you know yourself. In this league, we've had many just normal restarts, haven't we, where we've exited the race and come back in. Basically, the red flag gets rid of all that now. We've said, because of the introduction of red flags, we'll have no more of those restarts, just the red flag restarts, because it makes sense. I want to see how they react to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. The red flag will mix everything up. It's going to shuffle around a lot of the strategies, and it's going to be down to who makes strategy call first, and who makes the best strategy call. We will see when a red flag comes into play here. As far as Harry's concerned, he's really hoping that actually there isn't a red flag, because even though the now 8-second gap has gone down to 4 within the last lap, so Harry might have had an offing or something of sorts. I'm not sure. But regardless of the fact that that gap is coming down, it is a gap. Whereas if there was a red flag, then they would have a presumably standing start, where George would have every opportunity on same tyres to retake his lead. But at this rate, George is catching Harry at a rate of knots. So I think in the next lap or two, we're going to see George battling the Ferrari.
Very true, very true. We haven't seen many battles this race, so it would be nice to actually finally see a battle in Season 5, you know? It'd be impeccable, won't it? Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes down, whether Harry can potentially hold him off, you know. We know that, I know none of them are on controller, but we know that wheel and controller players are brought in, like, really, really close this game, you know, and so it also will show for wheel players. That may also get brought in a bit, and it's down to just who can defend who now, really.
Yeah, exactly. And look, that lead's already gone down to 2.7, 2.8 seconds. George is going to be all over the back of that Ferrari. If Harry has been known to be able to defend well. I mean, we know he can. So if we can see his defensive skills put to the test, it will be a great, entertaining battle, because obviously they'll race hard, but they'll race fair.
Very true, very true. I mean, you've come up against Harry's defensive skills, haven't you? I think you can say from experience it's very tough to pass him.
Yeah, definitely. He is a defender through and through. He will not give up the position unless his car is really struggling, or if there's no way that he can defend it. But other than that, he will not he will not give up the position.
Very true, but I think we can safely say Harry now can identify the Williams in his rearview mirror. The battle will commence any minute now, as they are now onto the straight. George has cut it down to under a second here. How will this battle turn out? It's going to be very interesting to see in the last 8 laps of this race.
This is going to be really interesting. He's really closing in now. That pace difference is some really significant. I mean, look at that. The way, the grip, the confidence coming out. I think coming out of this corner onto the straights, he's going to have an immense amount of confidence to try and overtake Harry, as he's already got a great exit. He's looking as Harry is defending, shutting the gate. It's getting really close here, as we now see George navigating his way, trying to get into a slipstream. I think he's going to run out of road here. He might have to do it next time round, or is he going to go down the outside? No, he's going to have to concede. But he's had a fantastic exit out of that corner. Harry really looks to be struggling. And is he going to be able to do it into this next corner?
Oh!
Oh. That one looked very, very close. My word.
This is amazing so far. George is going to look for it again. He won't be able to get it on this corner, but this straight coming up may be the time he gets this overtake. Will Harry be able to defend this off? I don't know how this is going to play out, to be honest. This is all for it now, as George tries to go on the inside, but Harry's defensive skills are amazing. George is the inside line here, but Harry stays on top.
Wow, that's great. They've stayed clean. They've stayed in the same positions for the first turn, but the straight is coming up now, and is Harry going to be able to do it? No, he's run out of road. But yeah, when the straight comes up, this is going to be Harry's opportunity. He's looking for the switchback. He's all over the gearbox of Harry here. It just seems like a matter of time. Look at how close he is to that Ferrari as they're now approaching the straight. Is he going to be able to do it? He needs to just choose a line and stick with it, because they can't both just be sitting there weaving along the straight. We'll see what they do. Oh, and he looks around the outside. Is he going to make it stick? He's got the inside line now. Oh, and he's made it stick, and he's ahead of the Ferrari. And George has retaken the lead of this race from all the way down in P19. He's had a superb recovery drive, taking over all 13 or 14, 15 of the AIs in 2 laps to then recover and overtake Harry, who was 14 seconds ahead of him, has now proven why he won the World Championship last season and why he's in contention to win it again this season.
Very true, very true. You can see that gap just growing and growing now. Of course, there is no DRS. Of course, I know Harry's outside of that second bit. When he was inside that second, there was no DRS for him to hold on, to clamp onto. I don't know how his DRS is looking, but George's pace is just unmatched right now. As we said, it'll be interesting to see how Neo does against him. But that is all to come for hopefully next weekend when we head to good old, if I just get it up a second, when we head to good old Qatar, one of the new tracks here in F123. We'll see how that goes. But I think we have to just talk about Preston for a second. What's happened?
Yeah, it must have had an off, or they might have had to pit or something, or maybe we've just been so caught up in the fact that George was catching Harry at a rate of knots that both of them were just driving like significantly faster than the rest of the grid, similarly to the situation that we had in 2021's F1 season, where Lewis and Max were just light years ahead of the rest, even in their teammates in similar or exact same cars. That might just be the situation that played out here. But a 49-second gap is really significant. He must have boxed or something.
Very true, very true. Especially how he still has a little gap on the AIs. Like, the AIs aren't closing in on him, but he's not exactly closing in on Harry.
No, I mean, I think he's running a lonely race. I think if he's, as I said before, if he's able to bring it home in one piece for P3, then that is damage limitation. So I think that's what he'll try and do.
Very true, and I mean, P3 wouldn't be so bad for him. It's still 15 points. 15 points above everyone else, because no one else has raced apart from Harry and George as well. Third place is not bad for the first race.
No, not at all.
Slightly gone off there. Don't know what happened there. Maybe a skid out or something.
Yeah, probably just a bit of lost grip. But we'll see how this. Oh, and George has already built up a 4.5 second gap to Harry. This has been a really, really good drive from George. I mean, he's proved why he deserves to win the race, why he's going to be the biggest threat for this championship. I mean, having an incident with Harry, coming down into P19 and having to box, it's a situation where all drivers would think, is there even any point? But he has ignored those kinds of talks. He's ignored all adversity, and in the face of it, he's come back with a superb recovery drive to take the lead of this race and, dare I say, win it.
Very true, very true. What I will bring up quickly, of course, is of course we still have Neo to bring into as discussed, but I remember back, I think it was like the Hungarian Grand Prix last season or something. We had two new drivers. One of them pulled a 30-second gap within like 2 laps or something. It was impeccable. It was really quick. But because of that, the guys thought, right, he's too quick. We can't really have him here because he just makes it not competitive. I know for a fact that George plays on me maximum difficulty. He's showing his pace currently. Will it be a case that the guys say, look, George is a bit too quick for all of us? You know, can we do something about this?
No, I don't think any of them will give up. I don't think any of them will say he's too fast or out of reach. It's not. It's not nearly as bad of a situation as what we're getting in real F1 here, with Max being so far off. Here, I think it's just a case of if a driver is willing to put in that sort of drive, as we've seen from Harry today, although he's finishing in P2 at present, obviously in the next 4 laps something could change. Although he's running in P2 at the moment, we've seen him lead the majority of the race. We've seen him get a superb start off the line from P2 and overtake George, and lead the race from lap 1. So if somebody like Harry was to really want it, they can challenge him.
Very true, very true. We will see how it all pans out. I mean, of course, we could even say the rain is what is making this all happen. You know, we know George is fast in the dry, but it could all change in the dry as well. You know, people could be quicker. We know that Preston's a really good driver in the rain, but it could still all change.
Yep, it's just a matter of circumstance. That's all I can say. That's all any of us can really say. It's just a matter of circumstance, and it's a matter of who on the day has the intent and willpower and execution to be able to carry out the drive that they want, that they're expected to do, and that they need to do to get the points that they need to bring their team and themselves up into contention for the championship as a Ferrari. But it's really close to the wall there, but he's really pushing to the limits. But it looks in vain at the moment as we're approaching sort of the business end of this race now, where George is really pulling away.
Very true, very true. And I know for right now we got probably 3 of our top guys in this race, you know. But I think we need to step the AI difficulty up a notch. We didn't actually we didn't actually come to a decision on the AI difficulty before this race. I know, very bad organisation, but we're getting to it. You know, normally it's better than this, but nonetheless, but we're gonna get to it, and we're gonna up it because, as seen today, the AIs have just had no effect at all. And we don't want that. We want them to give some challenge. We want the drivers to be a bit slowed by them, you know. And we want the driver, because that's how drivers improve as well. They, you know, for the AIs to give challenge to them, for, you know, as well as the other guys, you know. So we will be stepping up the AI difficulty because clearly it just hasn't been high enough today.
No, not at all. Obviously, for the 3 drivers, they'll be happy with it. And in fact, I think it's played a really big hand on today's race, because now, had the AI been stronger and, you know, more similar to the skill level of our 3 drivers, then would George have been able to slice up the field nearly as fast as he did? Would he even have been able to do it in the time allotted? I mean, at the end of the day, you're asking somebody to slice up a field of 15 AIs, 16 AIs, and then close a gap of about 17 odd seconds to 20 odd seconds to a real driver to win the race, and he's done it with a good 10 laps to go. So obviously the latter part is down to his skill, but you can also say that had the AI been stronger, they would have not allowed George to slice up the field as fast as he did.
Very true, very true. Who it's all what ifs, really, isn't it? But I think, of course, as well, if the AI difficulty had been higher, we wouldn't be seeing such gaps as a 58-second gap between Preston and Harry right now. We may be seeing some AIs between that, and we may be seeing some AIs between the 11-second gap between Harry and George.
Yeah, definitely. I think it would have been closer. I think it would have been tighter and it would have been more difficult for people to recover their position. I think it would have been more of a spectacle if they had done so under more difficult conditions. But that's not to take away from what George has done today. Can't get my words out. Yeah, it's not to take away from what he's done today. He has had a fantastic drive, and regardless of the fact that he was able to slice up the field, the fact that he did it cleanly with no damage and no incidents, as well as close down a 20-odd second gap to the leader, who has been strong all weekend, and then also build up a 13-second gap now as they approach the final lap of the race. And also on top of that, a minute and 15-second gap to his other competitor in this race, Preston. I mean, that's ridiculous.
It's on beyond comprehension, ain't it? Really. But yes, George right now, unless he gets in some sort of accident, which we touch wood he doesn't, obviously, but unless he does, he'll be taking home a full 27 points, not 26. I said 26 earlier because I thought Harry got pole position for some stupid reason, but he didn't. He got pole position. He'll be taking home a full 27 points here today, and what a great start that is for him in the championship run. Of course, what may be his main competitor this season, Neo, is not currently here, so it's a very good start for George, and we'll have to see whether he can carry that on next time or not. But we are nearing the end of this race now, so without further ado, I shall hand it over to you, Rafik.
Yeah, and we are right in the end stages of this race now. George has put in a superb drive, as we've been saying the whole race. He's looked imperious. He has driven fantastically well, and in the face of adversity that he's faced in the beginning, he's gone all the way back up, and he's approaching the final corner now to round off what has been an amazing performance. A bit of a moment there, but it doesn't matter, as he crosses the line, and he crosses the line to win the first race of the season here in Australia with a 15-second gap to his main rival this race, Harry, who is now approaching the finish line himself. And he's also had a great performance, nothing to take away from him. And he comes home to finish in P2. And Preston will come through. Presumably, he's actually got a bit of competition from Alonso here. He's looked to really struggle here. He'll be looking to take home that last and final podium position, although being a minute behind, he is being chased by Alonso to the very end, as he has been the entire race, with Alonso being very, very, very close to his gearbox. Is Alonso going to get the position done? They're very, very close. There might be one last opportunity for Alonso to get it done down this little sort of mini straight. But I think Preston should be far ahead enough to hold on to the lead to Alonso as he's approaching Sector 3. He's driven superbly well as well. Qualifying for him was great. The start of the race looks that he could get into some moments, but he was able to avoid all of it. A bit of a weird choice to come into the pit straight after the VSC ended, but nevertheless he does come home on this last straight. It's going to be a drag race with Alonso, but he should come home to take P3 and round off the final podium position. Take P3 in the first race of the season.
Very true, and a nice trophy unlock for me right there. But brilliant race by George, and he definitely, I would say, deserves driver of the day today.
Definitely. What a performance from him. What a great drive. What a great recovery drive. Yeah.
Very true, but here he is on the podium, of course, Harry on his right, Preston on his left. He will be enjoying the first win of the season and the first win of his Williams career. Unfortunately, his partner did get disqualified at the start of the race due to some formation bugs or whatever. But a brilliant race for the three of them to end on the podium. And a brilliant start to the season for the three of them. We will see how it goes. And of course, here you are with the leaderboard. It's George in P1, Harry in P2, Preston in P3. I don't know how else to put that, to be honest, but I hope you all enjoyed it. I know me and Ritvic surely did, and guys, we'll be back with you next Sunday, or should I say Saturday, for the qualifying, obviously, with in Qatar, of course, for the new track. We haven't raced there before. It's going to be very interesting. Hopefully, for actually 7 drivers. We'll see you next time, guys. ROR Championship over and out. See you then.